Welcome back, everyone, to a Mindset Medicine podcast. I'm your host, Katharine Loucaidou. And as you know, we are here talking about mindset, business, momentum, the motivations, the drive behind what people do, especially entrepreneurs and leaders. And I would say, both. I've got a mix of both today in my wonderful guest, Christine Hann. And Christine is a phenomenal entrepreneur and leader, and she has decided to do that in a different industry than what we have normally talked about here on this podcast. So I'm going to read you a little bit of information about Christine and what it is that she has. And this is just a summary of what she has accomplished. I know that there is far more behind just these few lines here, and we're going to dig into that today. So are you ready? This is Miss Christine Hann. She wrote, directed, and produced the short film Food for Thought, which is currently circulating the film festival circuit and will appear on CBC. And for those of you who are not in Canada, CBC is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, which is actually probably one of our first television stations that we had here and is still very prevalent in most people's homes. So her film will appear on CBC's Canadian Reflections program in February of 2024. She has worked as a film producer, production coordinator, and assistant director on several short films and web series. Currently, Christine, and this is very exciting, Christine is producing a comedy mockumentary feature film called Picklers. Christine, thank you so much for coming on this morning. This is it's a treat. I love meeting people from different industries because, everyone has so much knowledge and experience from where they've gone through life to where they are now. So thank you for joining us this morning.
No, thank you. I've been doing a deep dive into your program, and it's such an honor to be included as one of your guests. So thank you so much.
Why don't we just go right back to the beginning? And I would love to know, where did this interest and your passion for film come from? What was your background? And did you have a background in film, or is this something that you decided later? Tell us about how this all came about.
To be honest with you, I was planning on going into radio and television at TMU, but at the time it was Ryerson when I was in high school. And at that point, I was sort of getting into a bit of television production. I had worked it's now the Canadian Screen Awards, but quite a few years ago, it was separated into the Genie and the Gemini Awards. So I had actually met people, and through my father, actually, and he worked at Goodyear, and he was amazing and connected me with their advertising agency. And through that connection, I was able to get some gigs, volunteer, but working backstage at the Genie and the Gemini Awards, and also the Jerry Lewis telethon as well. So I was already sort of getting into that field, but then my dad worked again for Goodyear, and at the time it was in the 90s, and that's where they would transfer people all over. So we ended up getting transferred out to Alberta, and it just, took me off my path a little bit at that point.
Yeah.
So I decided to go into business because I also liked that. I was also pursuing a lot of business courses in high school. And so then I just continued there. And I actually went to college for marketing out in Alberta, and then transferred to the University of Guelph and completed a Bachelor of Commerce in Marketing Management. So I was well on my way to get into the business field. And so again, it took me off my path a little bit, but to be honest with you, now looking where I am, I'm at the exact right point to be able to appreciate working in film, if that makes sense.
Oh, to me, it makes perfect sense because I'm exactly where you're at, where you can now get into something where you truly feel it, like you are passionate about it. You know that is the route you're supposed to be going because everything through life has led you there. But I would love if you could explain how you went from sort of that advertising, you get that degree, you got the advertising. So what's the gap? How does one actually get into making films? Because if I were to sit here thinking like, well, I'll just create a film, it's very overwhelming, right? Because there would be so many stages. And then I would imagine that the connections that you have to have and all of that. So walk us through what that looks like as someone who's starting out like you did.
So it's kind of cool. My background is I've worked in event management, I've worked in communications, I've worked project management. So I have all the skill set, basically any industry, real estate, there's a ton of project management, there's a ton of communication involved with that. And I think every single industry has that. So I had that base. Then I got married. I had 2 children. My husband works a pretty stressful job, and it's shift work. And you have kids; they come first. So I stayed home with the kids for many years, but I was always doing something. I always took, again, my background. I volunteered with our hospital. I've got to volunteer with our food bank. I volunteered at the school and their activities. And I'm pretty much an all-in kind of person. So, so I still got really, really involved with those, and again, made those connections. Okay, so that's kind of the background.
So I've got a question for you.
Oh,
For
yeah, go ahead.
anyone who is, I'm sorry, I just have to keep dabbling my eye because it
No
keeps running.
problem.
There are so many stay-at-home moms who get into a situation where maybe that's it. They think, well, is there anything beyond this? Like, is there, will I have a career beyond, raising my kids? Some stay-at-home moms, that is what they want to do. They just want to
Mhm.
stay home and they want to raise their kids. Perfect. But for those who have an ambition, and the ambition is to go out and create something, did you have that at that point? Were there like small seeds in your mind saying, well, oh, this could be this, or did all of that come later?
I mean, because you have 2 kids, so you understand. The days are long, the years are short. It goes so fast.
Yeah.
But when you're in the thick of it, you don't necessarily feel that way. And your children do, they have to take a key role. It's very demanding, and especially again, because my husband was shift work, I had to be the main person. So on one hand, you feel like you should be doing something, working or. But on the other hand, I don't regret any of that time with my kids. I can never get that time back. So, yeah, were there moments of frustration? Absolutely. And so I was always constantly trying to find something, somewhere that I could,
Mhm.
a fingerprint on, or that I could be involved. So I did get that. I did, again, through, volunteer work, through things with my kids. So it was good. So if you're in that situation, it's okay. Take a
Yes.
breath.
Yeah.
Honestly, it goes short. It goes really, really quickly, but you will not regret that time with your kids.
Yes.
So it's okay. And you don't feel like you're going to be able to do something afterwards, but you will.
Mhm.
If that's what you want to do, you will. And if you don't want it, that's fine too. But if you do want to do something, if there's something you want to pursue afterwards, there's time. You can do it. So my kids are 17 and 15. They're not out of the house by any means, but they're very independent. So I'm
As I say to most people, they don't even know whether I'm here or not most of the time.
Yeah,
So when you get
exactly.
to that point, you
Yeah,
know that you're good and you have sort of
yeah.
this free reign now of what it is that you'd like to do with your hours of the day.
Yeah, and we can circle back, but what's really cool is, I guess because I was so involved, maybe over involved with with their activities and things that went on. But now as we're progressing, they help me out quite a lot with my film stuff. They work as
Love that.
coordinators. So my production company is called All Hands on Deck.
Well,
Because
when I saw that in your email, I loved that. I was like, that is someone who's like, oh, yeah, you're all going to chip into this. Yeah.
it's very much a family thing, and I'm so lucky to have that support. So from my kids, from my husband, I mean, I even in our Food for Thought short film, I even had my nephew who's 5 years old. He actually, because I wanted to make it authentic, we had him paint a prop for the film. And so it's like I kind of say, like, it doesn't matter, even if you're 5, you're not getting off scot-free. Everybody's helping. So it's good.
It's just all part of the journey. So this is
Yeah.
what I think that people love listening to, because I don't think a person just drops into
No.
film and film production and all of that. I think that there is this progression of
Mhm.
how things unravel over time.
Well, and to be honest with you, if I got into film at 20, in my 20s, I wouldn't have been as effective. I wouldn't have had that care and empathy for my team.
Yeah.
I think, being a mom, that's brought, and you don't have to be a mom, but I just think
Yeah.
in my situation, it helped me to
Mhm.
have that. I love my team. I really care about my team, and I want them I want it to be a great experience for everybody. And so I think I can bring that. I don't think I would have been able to bring that in my 20s. I wouldn't have had the same care and empathy in my situation. I had the experience of working on, in public relations in the automotive field. So I have that sort of mindset of what I need to do for film, for our projects. And again, and the organization, the project management, I wouldn't have, I honestly, it all came together. All these different experiences came together to put me where I am. And so in some ways I think, okay, oh, well, I'm not going to lie. I'm not, I do think, oh, wow, I'm a little bit older, and just getting into this. But what I see is, I'm pretty effective at getting things done because of my experience.
Yes.
And so again, I'm saying to the stay-at-home moms to take a breath. I have to take a breath myself and realize that. And it is what it is, right? So so I'm not going to stop because I think I'm a little bit on the older side. But what I've been connecting with different people, they're saying people get into film at all different ages.
Yes.
And so you just never know.
So yesterday we were just driving back in the car, and we were listening to the Christmas music station, and it was a special on with Cher, and it was Cher's Christmas album, and it was actually a Canadian radio host who flew to Paris for Cher's unveiling of her Christmas album. And the lady said to her, she said, I don't want this to come across as negative or anything, but you're 77 and you just released your first Christmas album. How is that even possible? Like, why at 77 would you go and release a Christmas album? And Cher said, it took me 77 years to get up the courage to do a Christmas album. And this is someone who, has globally is known worldwide. But even for her, she said, I don't think we are ever too old to try something that scares us. And coming from a 77-year-old singer who has already stardom everywhere, even she needed to dive into that realm of, okay, I haven't done this yet. It's probably one of the few things I haven't done. It's never too late. Exactly. And I think that's a really great mindset to have.
I think so too. And yeah, me personally too, I get bored. So I'm kind of like, if I've accomplished something, then I go, okay, I've done that. Okay, what's next thing?
What's next? Yes.
What's next? Okay, I did that. Okay. And honestly, I've been like that my whole life. So for me, again, it's back to this has all kind of come to the right time at the right place, at the right stage of my life, because film is so much like that. Is you do one project, great. The next project's not going to be the same. It's going to be some of the same ideas. Again, we all have to start at the same point. You need a script, you have to raise money. So some of the same things are going to be there, but there's always going to be a different element that's new or interesting to that project. And that's what really gets me. That's what really motivates me. It's the problem solving and how do we make this work and who do we bring in to do this and putting the team together. So I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate. And again, I have the, incredible support from my family, my husband, to be able to do that. So that's what I like about.
So let's go
get into it.
I want to really dig right in. So tell us then how you transitioned from your volunteering, you're at home and so on, to going into, I believe, was Food for Thought your first film?
It was the first. No, it wasn't my first film. It was the first film I wrote, directed, and produced.
Okay.
But not the first film I worked on. So my kids actually started working background work. My daughter got onto a couple of shows. My son got onto a couple of shows. And so because they were minors, I had to go on set as their chaperone. And to be honest with you, it's great. Like, I highly recommend anyone to do it because you get paid, you're there for the day, you get fed usually fairly well. So it is a good gig. That's why I say when my husband retires, I'm definitely signing him up to do that.
Wow. Okay.
But so I got started in that. They didn't exactly love it because it's a lot of sitting around.
Right.
But I loved it because I was watching what was going on and who's organizing.
Well, you've got that inquisitive mind, right? And so you're like taking it all in, and how does this get done?
Right, exactly. So they kind of wavered on it. And to be honest with you, I think it's just being open and looking for different opportunities. And I saw this opportunity to apply for a community film project. It was through Dreamweavers, and it was in Brampton, so Ontario. So I just applied to it, and I thought, well, we'll give it a go. We'll see what happens. And I got a call, and I got in. And so with this community film project, it was during the pandemic. It was 8 months. It was online, and we went through the whole process of putting a short film together.
Wow. Okay.
So every different element, and then we actually shot a short film. And I loved it. And I remember when they called Sunny Gill. He's part of IFSA. It's a South Asian Film Festival. So he was running this program. And when he called me, I got so excited. And he said, "Calm down, Christine." He's like, "You didn't win the lottery." And I honestly,
But to you, it felt like that.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I said. I said, "You don't understand." I said, "To me, this is like winning the lottery. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have no connections to the film industry. So for me to get into this, I just want to let you know, this really means a lot to me." So, yeah, so of course I went in. It's funny because I went in thinking, this is amazing. I'm going to learn how to do like camera work, and I'm going to learn how to do this. And I ended up gravitating towards more the producer, production management
Mhm.
type roles because
Mhm.
that's where my background is, and I'm good at it. I'll give myself a pat on the back. I'm pretty good at it. And so it was funny. I thought, you know what? Nah, no, I didn't even end up touching the camera, to be honest with you. And I just thought, well, but that's part of it, is working with people and bringing in people.
Yeah.
And it's very much a team. So through the community film project, I met two other women around my age, and we wanted to keep going. And so we created a little group, or the three of us, the trio, and we helped each other create films that we had written. So we all had written a short film. And then the
Okay.
three of us helped each other get the funding, put the team together, shoot the film, do the, and just put it all together, and then through the film festival submissions. So we worked on the first one, and then and so whoever wrote it would then become the writer, director, producer. And I even tried to get myself out of directing, and my two teammates, they said, "No, you're directing this. This is your film. You can do it." So
Good.
I thought, well, no, I like to be kind of more behind the scenes. And they said, "No, absolutely not, Christine. This is your vision. You are directing it." And I'm so
How
glad.
important how important was that push for you?
Well, to have that support was incredible. When you're the one in charge, sometimes you don't. And so my film is called Food for Thought, and it was a very, very important story to me, because I had been volunteering at the food bank, and so it was a very important story to me to get the message out about. The idea is to show people who is using the food bank. It's not who you think it is. And so it was a very important message. So I really didn't want to mess it up.
Mhm.
So I kind of wanted to get it off my shoulders. But my teammates were basically saying to me, because it's so important to you,
Yeah.
you will, this is your story. You have to do it. So I did. But again, it wasn't just me. I was very lucky to have an incredible team. And I was really lucky to have an incredible director of photography. And he was so kind, and he's so humble about his talents. But he was able to take my words and create the visual aspect to it. And to be able, it was just overwhelming to have someone read my words and then to create the visuals behind it. It
Yes.
I
Yes.
I can't even, it was like, because it's like you write something and it's and when you write it's so personal. So you
Yes.
write it, and then but for someone else to read it and then to interpret it and then to take it to a whole other level.
Right? And make it come to life. Like
Yes.
it's literally like those words come off a page and
Yes.
then they just become and I know how hard that is.
Yeah.
And your director of film is my son, and I too have had the very same experience, but not so much in film, but even in, when I've asked him to create an advertising
Mhm.
project for me or a logo or
Mhm.
something. It's very few times because he just listens so
Mhm.
well to this vision that you have. And then after a couple of tweaks, there it is,
It's
and usually better than what I had originally imagined.
exactly. It was like when I saw the first cut, I was speechless. Like, I just called him and I was like, "Lucas," like, I couldn't even get the words out, but I had to call him because I was like, how did you do this?
Yeah.
But even from creating the storyboards, it was like that was the first set was just so the storyboards are like little pictures of each scene. And so you take the script and then you create the shot list. So how you're going to shoot it. And then from there you create the storyboard. So it's like pictures of each scene.
Mhm.
But even at that stage, it was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. So went from food for thought, and then my teammate Lori Zazzalato, she had written films, so we created her short film as well. So we did that in the summer, and that's about to go into the film festival circuits. And then from there, I just started connecting. I took courses because you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, I love that you said that. So many people just don't realize that. I was actually having a conversation yesterday with someone, and I coach as well
Mm.
as doing various other things. And this is what I always try and explain to people is that once you've reached this point where your mind literally cannot figure out that next step, like it's like a blank.
Mhm.
When you get to that point, in whatever industry you're in, that's where you need that additional education because you can't get to the next step
Mhm.
unless you have that new knowledge to move you forward.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's really important that you said that because what did those new courses then do for you?
Well, I'm just in the midst of one through women in film and television. And so, I mean, it's not going to sound sexy, but I'm, learning production management. So I do have a project management background, but this is production management specific to film.
Mhm.
So so I'm working on that. That's already exploded my mind. And then I will be going into production accounting, and then business affairs, and the last one is marketing and distribution. So again, I have a knowledge on all of these, but how it relates specifically to the film industry, it's a different beast.
So, you know what I love hearing about what you just said, as someone who teaches business as well, is you are learning every facet of the industry. You are not just going with tunnel vision saying, well, this is what I do. I don't need to know the other things because I do believe that you need to have knowledge of every part of the
Mhm.
business, whether or not you're going to be focusing on that part of it.
Mhm.
Having knowledge of it keeps you I think it keeps you successful because you know where everyone should be, when you go to hire for those positions,
Mhm.
so on.
And they're even going to have a course. As I said, I don't touch the cameras. But they're gonna have a course on, at a production house or rental company where you go and you do, set up the equipment because the same thing. I really, I 100% trust my director of photography. I feel like I'm well looked after in that area, but I should know. And I should. And when he sets up a shot and I look at it and I'll go, oh, that's great. I should have, I just know it looks good and I just trust him so much.
Yes.
I know it looks good, but I really should know what's behind it. So
Yeah.
I'll never be at his level, but I think it'll actually help because I think I'll have an even more of an appreciation of like, wow, how did you get that shot together?
I was just going to say that. I think it's not about you doing it later on.
Mm,
I think it's about you understanding why he's
yeah.
asked you to stand in that position or whatnot. I know in real estate, for all the listings that I've done over the years,
Mhm.
once I started bringing in Lucas and, he has a really good eye and I would watch how they did it, where they took the shots from. And I would ask, why is that shot lower when the room seems to be so big? And he said, well, because I need it to look like this.
Mhm.
Or, and so for me, it gave me a better understanding if I'm preparing the home,
Mhm.
I know where the camera's looking. I know which
Exactly.
corners need to look better than others. I know the light in the room. I know that if we turn the camera, nobody really cares about that side of the room because there's no
Yeah.
feature there. And then if we bring that into business, because he's also done product photography.
Mhm.
And so it's light on the product and how should the product be? All of that, I think, lends to your overall knowledge of I may never be working behind the camera,
Mhm.
but if I can understand why you need us to be like that, now things will actually move faster
Mhm.
because there's less questioning going on.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. So, yeah, it just makes you stronger going forward. And also, too, then working with other people, bringing in other people to the team. So knowing what good questions to ask as well.
Yes.
I do work on my own things, but I've also been working on other people's projects as well because I feel, again, it's back to the I don't know what I don't know, and you
Mhm.
pick up little tips and tricks. This is really really silly, but I work on a web series, and this is really really dumb, but garbage, for example, how they set up their garbage is like, wow, I never thought of that. That's really cool. I'm going to take that forward for my own things. Right? That's one very very small thing.
I do believe that there's something to be learned everywhere from everyone. And sometimes you don't even realize why something fascinates you, but somehow it comes back,
Mhm,
and you never know when, but it does come back
mhm.
somewhere that you're able to use that one little thing that you happened to notice.
And I want to get better. I want to work on bigger projects, and bigger projects means bringing in more people. And so it's just nice to have a good network. Film is very much, I'm assuming, like real estate, very much a relationship industry.
Mm.
So it's really good to connect with, many people. Like you said, be curious, be open, and I feel like that's how I'm going to grow. And so started on short films. I've done some web series. I've worked on a commercial shoot as well. So I just want to keep growing and keep working more and more and more. And yes, and so now developing a feature film. So we're in development. So it's going to be a big jump. I mean, our short films are under $10,000 budgets, and then this is going to be a $300,000 project.
Wow.
So it's and that's still quite small in the film industry, but
Mhm.
it'll be a big jump. But we've received a lot of positive feedback about it so far. So we're doing it. We're going for it. We're
That's
making this
amazing.
happen.
I just love it. I love that you are making that jump. How scary is making that jump for you?
Definitely, it's kind of like what, like two steps forward, one step back, two steps because for example, I'm doing that course, even production management. I felt pretty strong in that, but then I'm sitting in a room with everybody who's so accomplished, and I'm still technically emerging. So so it's kind of that imposter syndrome. You're like, I want to, see, I don't really think I just move forward. I'm just like,
Yes.
I have this idea and I have to get it out. I have to work like this is where we're going. This is the direction. I'm very, very clear on that. It's almost like you go like a few steps forward and then you're like, wait, how am I going to do this? And then, even again, it's back to I'm very lucky to have such support. So even like with my husband, I'm like, can I do this? And my husband's like, have you met you?
I love that.
Well, if you think I can do it, I guess like it,
Yes.
and again, it's back to the team as well. So I'm very, very lucky to have so much support and being able to talk things out. I talk things out with my husband. I talk things out with my parents, even, and I talk
Mhm.
things out with my teammates. Lori, the producer. I've got a great friend, Kelly McDowell. She's a producer. She's done all different hats. Talk things out with her. Definitely talk things out with Lucas. I mean, so it's just, again, it's creating that team, a great support network, and not everybody agrees with me. Not everybody, and that's important. Not everybody thinks everything's fantastic,
Mhm.
and that's super important. I need that pushback because it can't just, because it's going to ultimately make the project better.
Yeah. There's something that you said which I think is really important in how you are able to just keep moving forward. Is you said, "I just do it."
Mhm.
Right? You don't sit around worrying about the, well, what if?
Mhm.
What if I don't get funding? What if I don't have enough knowledge? What if it's, I'll figure it out.
Honestly, it may take a little bit more time. I mean, I have a specific timeline in mind of how I want this to happen. It may not happen in that realm, and that's okay. But we're making steps forward, and baby steps, learning a lot as we go. No, I this is happening. I don't know how to explain it, Catherine. I just feel really strong in that this is happening, and I don't let that creep. Like I said, I have like maybe sometimes imposter syndrome, and then like, how are we going to do this? But at the end of the day, I know this is happening. I can't explain it. I just know that this is going to happen, and we just push forward on it. And I will work to connect with the right people, or to help us figure it out. But I know it's going to happen.
Absolute 100% it is because you already believe it will. And
Yeah.
that's really, I think that's the core of everything. If you believe it's going to happen, it will happen because you will find a way for it to happen. What would you say? Would you say that funding is a
Mm,
real big challenge that you have to? Because I imagine funding
yes,
and looking for funding comes with a lot of rejection.
absolutely.
How do you do that? How does that work for you?
Well, yeah, it's very interesting. So, I was very fortunate. Our project was selected to be part of this pitch fest. I was one of 5 filmmakers that was selected to pitch at the Ontario Screen Conference through the Forest City Film Festival in London. So, our project was selected to present it, and we would pitch for $60,000 towards our film. It was an incredible experience. We didn't get it. We put our best foot forward. But what was really interesting was that I was competing against people that had won, Canadian Screen Awards, and I mean multiple.
Wow.
Again, it was humbling, but the fact that we were in that category, one
Yes.
was, first of all, that was amazing to be even considered in this category.
Mhm.
So that was number one. And number two was what really made me realize was that no matter if you've won 8 to 10 screen CSA awards, we're all starting in the same point. Everybody needs to start at the same point for funding. There's only so many, that was just another big realization for me. We all start at the same point. So yeah, raising funding is a lot. So it's, grant proposals are very, very, involved. There are many, many components. Creating the budget is hard because it changes. For
Right.
example, if we had been selected, we would have had to film a portion of it in London. That would have changed the budget. If we can film it, closer to home, that will change the budget. So yeah, it's
That's
then there's the sponsorship route, there's private funding, yeah, but we're all trying to get that same pot.
at any time, from when you started getting into this, at any time, did you ever stop and say, "What am I doing? Should I be doing this? Is this worth it?"
Yeah, I guess in some ways it's like, why? Why do you wanna do this? Like, what it's a lot of hours that you don't get paid for. Probably if I put that same intensity into maybe a different field, maybe I would get more of a paycheck for it. But I can't explain it. I just have this drive to get these stories out.
Yeah.
Like the food bank one. It's a really, really, really important story of acceptance. The other thing that we were able to show is actually how a food bank works, because it's not simply you just show up and here's a whack of food. That's not how it works. It's a system. And so, yeah, I wanted to show, empathy on both sides, empathy for, the clients, empathy for the volunteers that work there because they have to administer rules. So, yeah, I just didn't, I don't know, Catherine, I don't know. I don't think twice about it. I just feel like it's just a story I need to get out.
Yeah.
And, Picklers is not, it's not as deep. It's not as a deep meaning
Tell us
message.
a little bit about Picklers. Tell us about your new feature film that because it sounds like so much fun from what I hear. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about where did the idea come from? Tell us about this feature film you're creating.
Yeah. So again, it's not as deep as the food bank story, but it is a strong message because it's at the core of it. It's about finding your people, and that's really the message. So this is a mockumentary feature film based on the sport of pickleball.
Which is just hot and trending
Yeah,
everywhere and has been for
absolutely.
the last few years now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to figure out a time to get Lucas and Jake to come out and give it a go. I'm basically trying to convert everyone into playing pickleball, I guess, at this point. Yeah, it's a huge, hot sport, but it attracts a lot of interesting people. And so, yeah, I had met up with a friend who was having lunch with another friend, and that friend was wearing this. It was a pink pickleball paddle on necklace. Yeah.
Okay.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, that's kind of where the idea came from. And maybe it wouldn't have sparked ideas for everybody, but I thought this person loves pickleball so much
Right.
that she's now wearing this necklace. And every time I've seen this person, she is wearing that necklace. Like this is her identity.
Wow.
This is who she
Wow. Okay. That's
is.
fascinating. Yes.
Yeah. And when you go a little bit deeper into it, so she had had a stroke, and and that presents a lot of health issues. And here she is, she's a demon on the court. So, and, she has so many friends from it. And, so it's social, it's physical, it's emotional. And so pickleball it's not just a sport, like it has so many other layers to it. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. So we've created it's a mockumentary film. So it does poke fun at it. But at the end of the day, it's really more about finding your people.
Do you find that important, having that message first before you create the film? Like, what is it that I really want people to get from this? And then does everything else kind of revolve around that storyline then, or that one really deep message that you hope most people will get from the film?
Well, I think every story has to have something that you connect with it. And and that's just how I go forward with it. There has to be something there. There has to be some kind of emotional element that pulls you into the story.
Mhm.
So pickleball might be the hot, topic or, and that might draw you in, but then it's going to draw you in even further with the relationships that
Yeah.
come through it. So, and the thing about pickleball, it's all different ages. And so that's what our film is going to be as well. It's going to represent all different ages and different relationship type issues and everything through the sport of pickleball.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I look forward to watching it because I just see it on my end, with
Mhm.
Lucas. He doesn't ever really talk about his clients. He's very into,
Yep.
confidentiality. But he'll tell me a few things like, oh, you got to hear this, and
Yeah.
this was really fun, or some really key points of something that they filmed. So I look forward to hearing that. So as we come to a close, this is
Mhm.
really interesting because I love the fact that so many I think you've actually given so much wisdom to anyone speaking, and I think the wisdom comes through any industry, right? It's just do it. Like stop thinking about it, just do it. If it's something that you truly believe in, it's going to work. And I love that that's your idea even behind the feature film. It will get made,
Mhm.
right? It's not a matter of but how am I going to do it? I'll figure it out. What is next for you? My last interview, who was with a past VP of L'Oreal, I said, what question haven't I asked you? He's like, well, you haven't asked me what's next. And so I thought that's absolutely true. So what's next for you?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, obviously, Picklers is going to take a lot of time to get that going. I have a few different ideas. As I talk to other filmmakers, it seems like they've got a bunch of different projects on the go. So we're going to get this one going, and then potentially another idea I'd like to start developing. I'd like to work on other sets, other projects to keep building up, my skill set. But the other thing is I'm part of a team that's putting together the Dufferin Film Festival. So we're launching a film festival in Dufferin County, and that's coming in August 9th and 10th of 2024.
That's
And
exciting.
yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about is to be able to create something. And I'm very much our focus is on creating a great experience for our audience to come and watch some and it's all Canadian cinema. So we're so ecstatic to be able to support Canadian filmmakers. But the other portion of it is we're really developing it to show appreciation to filmmakers. And it's a hard industry, and we just want to show how much we appreciate their work and their vision, and that's really a strong point for us. And developing talent, developing filmmakers, especially in the Dufferin County area. So yeah, so
Nice.
got a few things on the
What a
go.
great project. That's a really great project because I think
Yeah.
not only because you're in it, but that you also want to highlight the other, colleagues and other people in the
Mhm.
same industry as you and just say, "Hey, we understand. This is
Mhm.
not easy." And,
Mhm.
you're working at it.
Absolutely. So through Food for Thought, we've been to some different film festivals. So it's been very interesting to see, different ranges and how they appreciate people
Yes.
and how they put on their film festival. So it's taking that knowledge and then being able to apply it forward. We were at a film festival in North Carolina, and I was sitting in the audience. So you have to submit your headshot and bios and your film. And I was just sitting in the audience, and one of the board members came up and said, "Are you Christine Hann?" And you're Food for Thought. And I was just so overwhelmed that they would know who I was because, we're short. It was a mixture of short films and feature films. And to get acknowledged like that, it was just out of a sea of the people watching the film. It was so good. So we want to bring that type of idea forward to our filmmakers.
That feeling you felt is what you want to create forward.
I can't tell you, it felt like they bent over backwards to show appreciation. I felt, we were approached by multiple board members who are putting the festival together, and we were just overwhelmed. We walked away thinking, wow, they really like us. Like Sally Field, they really like us.
Oh,
No, we want that feeling for our filmmakers for the Dufferin Film Festival. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that initiative. What's one last thing that you would want to leave people with today? From any part of your experience, any part of the way that you're working through all this, what's one thing that if you were to take out a billboard and put it on the road, what would it say for people?
I guess two things. Try to appreciate where you're at, and that's hard to do sometimes. But try and appreciate, because you're always learning, you're always getting things, and maybe where you're at that moment is not necessarily where you're going to be. So just take that moment. And my dad gave me this little piece of advice when I was younger, moving off. I moved away and went to university, and left Alberta to come back to Ontario. And my dad said to me, every day, look up, in the mirror, smile at yourself. And I said, why? And he's just like, because, you have to show appreciation for yourself. If, you start off with that smile in the morning, just really sets your day off. So it's a little thing, but I've always kept that. And it was a really, really great, meaningful piece of advice. So
a really good piece of advice. So we're going to end there with that piece of advice from your father, because he was very wise to say that, because obviously he found it to be helpful in his life as well. Well, thank you so much for coming on today's show. I think that you have given a lot of insight to anyone in any industry who's listening, that anything's possible. You just have to really want it and believe it.
Well, thank you.
If you have enjoyed this episode, give us a like, subscribe. And where can people sort of follow your progress and follow what you're doing?
Well, Instagram, you can follow me. So I'm _Christine_Hann, and Food for Thought is on there as well. But if you could follow picklers.movie, that would be incredible. We haven't started posting yet, but we'd love to get that account going, and you can follow the process as we get this film to the big screen.
There you go, picklers.movie. If you want to follow the process along as it unfolds over the next year, please do, because I think it's going to be really interesting, and we will cheerlead you on to this next venture of yours. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.